Hello guys, welcome to yet another Banter Blitz, our Saturday edition. So I hope you're doing well. Just as usual, for this week was quite hard for me, and I'm probably not at my best shape, but I will try my best to play good games and probably tell you something about this game so that you can learn something new and benefit from it. And I ask you to give me a hint if the quality of the stream is fine. You can hear me, you can see me, and yeah, we'll gradually start. So let me see if we have someone I've never ever played before. So let me check. Yeah, we can see a lot of challenges from kind of newcomers to the show. Olaf says, all okay. Thank you very much for this information. So I'm going to start with the game against Javier Santa. Or Sanza. Sorry if I mispronounce it. So let me accept. And I'm playing with white pieces. Okay, let's go. E4. So my typical first move, and Sicilians, it's gonna be fine. Gonna be interesting fight, I suppose. Alright, let's play knight e4. For several seconds I thought I would try something like c3, but I decided just to play normal knight takes d4, because it's the very first game today, and I actually need to train a bit prior to going crazy or something. Okay, knight takes c6 as far as I remember is a move here. Now everything depends on how black recaptures. Okay, taking with the b pawn. Yeah, there's a possibility for sure. Let's develop our pieces now. d5, queen e2. Attacking d5 pawn. Knight goes to f6. Now probably just castling. And h5. That's interesting. That's interesting. So what's the intention? Just to play knight g4 at some point, bishop to c5 or something? Probably, yeah. So how to react to that? I guess it's okay if we start with king to h1, just going away from that vulnerable position on that diagonal a7, g1. So if something like queen b6, queen a7, or bishop c5 happens, at least there will be no check, which means we can try something like knight a4 followed by c4 maybe. Not sure though it's anything good. Can we start with the e5 here? If we play e5, knight goes to g4. Then after knight to a4, bishop goes to something like a7, I guess. And then we can play c4. But I'm not sure. I think it's a typical idea here, but yeah, I think it's better to have the pawn still on e4. So let's start with the knight a4, attacking the bishop. And then c4. So if bishop stays in this diagonal, we may try c4, then maybe even c5. Closing that diagonal for the bishop, making it passive. We can support our knight with the b3 if it is attacked. But okay, bishop decided to go to e7. Probably it's it's good news, because now there is no danger if black plays something like knight g4. So let's just play e5. I mean, knight g4 is a possibility, obviously, but there is no threat of playing knight to f2 or something anymore. So I guess we should be better now, having more space. So right here I wanted to exert some additional pressure on the center so that if black ever decides to play c5, I can take on d5 and then play f5. Well, maybe not right away, but black definitely has to take that option into account. If black decides to capture on c4, I'm fine with that, because in that case, c file becomes open and I will have some play against black's weakened c pawn, which is on c6. If black now plays d4, okay, diagonal a7, g1 will be closed for a long time, maybe forever, and I'll have some options of even attacking that knight. Alright, g6. Can I play h3 now? Then knight goes to h6, then probably to f5, something like that is planned. So probably I don't have to weaken my position. Additionally, I think it's better to focus on the development. Just bishop d2, rook a to c1, let's say. Yeah, exerting some additional pressure on black's position. So b2 is not hanging, right? We can then play just this move. Now cd5 becomes kind of threat. Black has to be careful. Queen a7. That's a good question what to do now. I mean, c5 looks very tempting, although it closes the position, but at the same time grabs more space, makes black's pieces almost constantly passive. The only concern I have about this is that position will be too closed. It will be very hard for me to achieve anything. Okay, what can be another idea? Just cd5. Okay, cd5. I don't think I achieve anything there, at least for now. Okay, let's try this position. I mean, it's interesting. So not necessarily good, not necessarily best, I mean, but also deserves attention, I suppose. So now there's a weakness on b6. We may want to occupy that square a bit later, maybe even with the sacrifice of the pawn after bishop d8. But I don't think we're ready yet, so I'm going to start this move so that b pawn no longer a problem for me, so that my knights now can go somewhere. And then maybe knight to b6. And the bishop takes, pawn takes. Okay, dark squares become very, very weak in black's camp. We'll see. Alright, knight to h6. Maybe now it's a good time. Yeah, let's try that. I mean, looks like an attractive sacrifice of a pawn. And now just this move. So I have pair of bishops, better development, and some perspectives of exerting pressure on black's vulnerable pawns. At least I hope to do something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. c5 was also interesting for black, then queen c2, winning the pawn. I think we should prevent c5 right now. Maybe even play queen to c5. Should we do that? Okay, I'm not so sure. It looks good again. Let's try it. Let's pre-move. Rook takes c5. In case black decides to capture my queen. If black doesn't do that, okay, then it's a different story. Now we can regain the pawn if we want. The question is, do we want that? Well, I mean, it doesn't look bad, right? All right. Rook there. Not sure why I moved my bishop to this strange position. Really, oh my god, what am I doing? What am I doing? There was like c5 move was very good for black. Now we should just close this file like this. Yeah, I just misplayed this stage. 40 seconds only on the clock. And I'm doing really bad. I'm doing really bad here. Yeah, very strong. All right. I think rook takes g2 is just close to decisive. Yeah, rook g2 is just amazing. Like very, very strong. Now my king escapes. Position is still quite complicated, of course. But now at least we have this idea, which actually saves the day for me in this game. Yeah, so it was very interesting. Very interesting. I think black could win the game here after... Well, to start with, it was possible to play c5 immediately after I played rook to a5. Let's get back to that moment. It's a critical one. Yeah, right after rook to a5, c5 was already very, very strong. I don't know what to do here with white. Probably I'm already lost or very close to that. So, I mean, I have to protect g2 in a very passive way, like rook to g1. And yeah, black can do basically the same, but having the rook on d2, right? But all right, here after c5, I captured. Why not with the rook? That's my question. So with the rook looks just decisive because there is a sort of rook takes g5 at very least. And I don't know how to prevent it. Yeah, maybe rook c7, but I don't believe in this move at all. Like rook takes g5, let's say rook takes b7, king b7, f takes g5, rook takes g5. It is the first line that came to my mind right now. Black is a pawn up and my other pawns are pretty weak here, so even if I have chances to survive it, they're not so great. I mean, there's chances. And I think my mistake was just to regain the pawns at so early stage. Maybe knight b6 was already a mistake. I mean, the idea was in general correct, but probably the timing was not so cool. So probably I should have just played bishop e3 here. After knight f5, something like bishop to f2. If h4, maybe king g1. So actually performing some important prophylaxis here against knight to g3 check. And then knight b6. I don't even have to sacrifice a pawn, as you can see. So everything is under control. Then knight b6 and then sort of b4, a4, b5 plan. While black is just lacking some activity, I guess. All right, interesting game. Let's get back to our challenges and see if we have somebody I've never played before. I mean, not a single game. Not a single game. Let's see. Yeah. Here is Dua Lipa. FIDE Master. Accept. Playing with white pieces. Let's go. e4. Yeah, already the first game was quite challenging, so very nice. Thank you for that experience. In general, I think this h5 is not very cool. I guess black is doing okay if plays normal bishop e7 castling moves. All right. So, and here is a 6. It's just strange thing. I mean, like, I'm getting what I want, so the best possible version of this line with passive light squared bishop. Now dark squared bishops are exchanged, and we even have queen g4 option if we want. I mean, do we want to bring the queen to g4? Well, again, let's try it. Just a blitz game, so there is a room for experimenting. Giovanni is here as well. Cobra and other guys. Pretty cool. Okay, now I wanted just to go back. Probably this queen g4 was unnecessary. Like knight f3 was just okay. Yeah, because of e5 mainly. Now I'm not really satisfied with my position. So black has this king on f8, but it's not a big deal, I suppose. I have problems with my king now. Wow. I misplayed it completely, I must admit. I just misplayed it. Now I have to be real quick with the development, I think. So something like 92. Because knight f3, just bishop to g4, I thought. And if queen e5, then rook e8 was possible. And if I don't take on e5, then my pawn structure is just awful. Okay, let's quickly run away. So at least my king is safe for some time. So already not that bad. What's next? Just knight f3, I guess. Yeah, let's develop our pieces. If you don't know what to do, just develop the pieces. It cannot be wrong. So now we have this blockading position against d5, which is isolated. Question is how to play this correctly. Knight to c4 is possible, I think, but then queen a6 and my a2 is hanging. Also g6 is probably a preparation of bishop f5. Have to be very careful here. So let's play h3 because I don't like the perspective of having the bishop on f5. Now I'm trying to prepare g4, just immediately challenging the bishop once it is on f5. Okay, so now we can play g4, just preventing bishop f5. It is good. Probably black should have considered h5 a bit earlier, but maybe h5 is still good enough. Yeah, position is not so clear. All right, I think I have to play this. Now what about this check? Fighting for dark squares now. And I don't achieve anything specific, honestly. So I think now it's a good moment just to run away to a1 before it's too late. Again, maybe not the best decision, but it's sort of prophylaxis, all right? So now my king is more or less safe. Okay, what's next? After this h5, g5, it will be not so easy for me to play on the Kingside. On the other hand, we have some interesting ideas. So what about knight e4? Knight e4, queen a6, knight f6, takes with the pawn. This is kind of improvement, I think, for me. Or maybe I'm just overestimating my position. Shit. I don't really like this idea anymore once I play this knight e4 move. Queen b6, I expected the other move. I expected queen a6, and I will explain why. Because, you know, a2 would be under pressure in that case. In this case, though, it feels like we have much better pawn structure. Okay, our knight is under attack, but I think we can bring it to d6 even. Now b7 is under attack, but black ignores that, most likely creating a threat of what? Of just d4. So I think we have to blockade that pawn before it's too late again. Knight to c5. Okay, knight b3 is not a threat for now, at least. Our knight on d6 is hanging though. So let's go to b5. Okay. What to play now? f2 is under attack, so I think I have to play... Okay, and g5 as well. Wow, I didn't see that at all. All this doesn't look good for me. What to play now? Yeah, that's really bad. Alright, but I have to protect f2 somehow, I guess. The question is how. Let's try this move. If knight f2, then some ideas like rook to f1 and then get into f7 may be possible. Yeah, Giovanni's right, so probably I should have tried that, capturing the pawn at some point. That's absolutely right. Good point. Right, now I can take this guy. Let's see, 7. Because g5 is heading, so I want to make sure my knight will be somewhere around to protect it. Okay. Again, something I didn't expect, so now black has tremendous compensation for missing exchange. That's a bad thing for me. Yeah, I mean, black is definitely better here. Yeah. Position sucks. This is something we can prevent though. Rook g1 is not possible because of knight f3. That's a bad thing. Alright, so maybe some activity here may help somehow. Yeah, rook e4. Very strong. Takes so long. Yeah, I'm gonna lose this game. It's lost now for sure. It's lost now. But black is spending time on some strange moves, although it's probably not critical. Alright, maybe it is critical, actually. But I have only 4 seconds, so I'm not going to survive it. What happened? King a5 and I lost some time. That's pathetic. Just one move before the checkmate. I mean, it's... Come on. Ugh. Very bad loss. Or, yeah, I lost on time. That's yeah, really bad. Whew. Very bad game. I think queen g4 was not correct. I think queen g4 was not correct, although it was tempting, but simple knight f3 was followed by castling was exactly what I should have played. Just a normal development here. That bishop is bad. White has a slight advantage in the Carlsbad reversed. So what happened next? I mean, here bishop g4 was very tempting, but I'm not sure that black is achieving anything specific after f3 and say rook to e8. But it looks very tempting because there is a sort of knight takes d3. Maybe that was the way to play for black. I mean, if I castle, even there is some like knight takes f3. Probably black is already winning. I mean, I don't know. That was great. I mean, bishop g4. After knight f6, I was already okay. Because now we have just normal development here. King there. Probably I should have played queen d4 right away. Intending g4, g5. So that's, yeah. Question of taste, of course, how to start. But I was not satisfied with this position after h5 and g5. Actually here, after rook d8 and knight e4, responsible to play queen a6. That was great. I mean, now if I play knight to f6, which was planned, then knight captures f6, and if queen takes f6, there is d4. And this is just a perfect scenario for black, I guess. Okay. My first thought was like, okay, I will take with a pawn with the idea of knight g5, but then I noticed that there is rook to c4, which is also pretty strong for black, intending rook to a4, and still there's d4, which is quite annoying. So maybe I have to play knight g5, king there, then probably queen somewhere, just intending to take that bishop whenever it becomes dangerous. Maybe like this. But I don't think black is forced to give it up. So something like bishop f5, let's say. And I have a feeling that black is simply better in this case. Again, there is a sort of threat like rook a4 now. d4 is still on the table. So yeah, that was the right way for black to play. And after queen b6, again, I thought that's okay. So now I'm more or less fine. Then I played knight d6. And yeah, there is a question, why didn't I take there? Maybe knight b7 was possible. Not sure, but I was d4. I was afraid of d4, sorry. Maybe it was not necessary to be afraid of that. So knight takes d8. Rook a2 is not dangerous. Bishop a2 is potentially something. But again, I think I can get away with this. Like, what if I just take on d4 with a knight? So you can take something, but at the end of the day, it will be like up a material anyway. Moreover, I can try some like rook takes d4, so why not? Why not to be greedy a bit? After all, I'm a rook up, and if something like knight c5, then maybe b4. Knight b3, king b2, okay. Fine with this. Yeah, so probably knight takes b7 was a possibility. But okay, black is not forced to play d4 immediately. What about rook b8 first? And then d4. That's another story. That's why I didn't take it, probably. So just d4, a2 is hanging, dc3 is a threat. So I cannot really play a3. So it looks a bit annoying, okay? So that's why I played knight to d4, then I went to c5. Attacking my knight on d6. Now I'm forced to do something like that. And yeah, I completely missed knight e4, attacking both g5 and f2. So after that, I think black is already better. Okay, thanks for the game. So we're down 29 rating points. Hell. But it's not about that, of course. So Laurent Spicer from France. Never played before, except. So after this game, we'll come back to normal order of challenges. So one by one. Here we go. On the other hand, my rating looks pretty nice now. 3003. Okay. Queen's Indian defense. Or maybe just a closed Catalan after g3. That is something I usually play. Alright, d5. Why did I play d5? I usually play bishop b7, to be honest. Come on. Confuse the order of moves in a system that I exclusively play against this setup. Yeah, happens. Okay, castles, castles. Now bishop goes to a6 to attack c4. It usually works well after knight c3. Because when the knight is still on b1 and may go to d2, bishop on a6 is usually quite misplaced. And e4 is easier to implement, so that bishop is more needed on b7 to control that square potentially. Okay, knight to e5. So the typical move here is knight to d7. I didn't even calculate cd5, knight e5 for some reason. I don't know why, but it should be fine. So cd5 takes knight e5, e5, bishop takes d5, knight takes e5, bishop takes a8, and then knight goes away somewhere. So white will have what? Like the rook and the pawn plus pair of bishops against my 4 minor pieces. No, 2 pawns there. All right, so knight e5 was, cd5 was probably possible. Yikes. But I can start with knight takes e5, I guess, or... don't know, have no idea. We have to check that. After the game, I'm always, like, I don't memorize these lines, each and every one. I just usually calculate again over the board, just to make sure that I don't miss anything in this typical situation. But when you play Blitz, of course, you don't have enough time. You have to make your moves faster. So now c4 is hanging. Well, pretty much. Of course, my c6 is also hanging if I take on c4. And in this case, we just recapture the c-pawn, and I suppose we no longer have problems. Usually this pawn structure is good for white if pawn is still on b2 and queen can jump to a4, challenging the bishop, fighting for b5 square, but in this particular case, it's just completely fine. So can we play bishop b4? Bishop d2, rook to c8? Not sure. Let's just play rook to c8 first and see where the bishop goes. Now probably bishop b4. And queen to e7. Connecting rooks and kind of controlling a3 square, so that our bishop on b4 is here for long. a3 may be possible still, like bishop takes, queen takes, rook to a1, and our bishop on a6 is hanging, but we win the pawn, and the knight on c3 will be hanging as well. So maybe we're fine there after some like queen b4, I don't know. But then knight takes d5, e5, and rook takes a6. What kind of pawn structure is that? Probably better for white. So what to do then? Just take on c3 after a3, and if bishop takes, then queen takes a3. Okay. e4 looks like a possibility, but now it also gives us some possibilities. After knight f6, followed by rook d8, we will have some play against d4, which is now isolated. And our bishop is just good here on b4, pinning the knight, which controls d5 square. So probably d4, d5 is not that dangerous. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Maybe it was possible just right away, instead of even playing bishop b1. But then I captured the bishop. Don't know. Position is just too complicated for a Blitz game, with so many opportunities for both sides. Bishop b1 is understandable, like white wants to have this tandem with the queen and the bishop on diagonal b1, h7, but this also leaves h1, a8 diagonal, so maybe I can just bring the bishop back to b7 and then relocate my queen somehow and create some threats on the kingside. We'll see. For example, what about bishop b7 right now? Looks like a good move. Additionally, controlling d5 and now controlling the whole diagonal. We should probably take that knight at some point, just to have, again, a nice blockading square in d5. So something like bishop takes c3, queen d7, queen d5, or maybe it's starting with queen d7 and at some point taking on c3 and queen d5 comes to mind. So queen d3. Okay, I think it's a good moment to take. And now d5 becomes a threat. Yeah, probably it was not a good moment to take. But okay, we can handle this position like this. So just first blockading everything, making sure that there is no threat to h7 whatsoever, maybe additionally playing some like g6, closing that diagonal for the queen and the bishop for a long time, and then just maneuvering the pieces. All right. Probably was not the best way to play this. Maybe I should have started with queen d7, but I was a bit afraid of d5 immediately after that. Sacrificing something, but at the same time exerting pressure on my knight on f6. That's why I actually played this. Okay, queen b7. f3, all right. So now it's a question what to do. Okay, I wanted to play g6 just to make my knight free. All right, I won on time. Of course, I played much faster than my opponent here in this game. That's why I had this option as well. But to be completely honest, I think the black should be slightly better here already. So some maneuvers like knight e8, maybe knight g7 or knight d6 followed by knight f5 come to mind. Doubling rooks along the c file, just trying to achieve something there. So white's dark's good bishop is pretty passive here. That's the problem, and there are some weaknesses here. But anyway, like it's far from being clear. So let's have a look at this critical moment. I thought I may try something like this. So my idea is clear. Now I want to take on c3 and then immediately blockade the pawn with the queen, at the same time creating some threats there. But again, white at very least has this f3 move, so maybe it's not that dangerous. And the other reason why I didn't do that was that d5 was probably possible. Well, at least it looked dangerous. So the idea is that now bishop exerts pressure on the knights. And if I take here, let's say then bishop takes. Yeah, but there is no threat of bishop takes f6. That's what I missed. Rook on c1 is hanging. So I can basically just take on d5, I think. The question is how. With a queen, maybe just simplifying the things immediately and have an extra pawn. Yeah. Queen takes d5, let's say knight takes d5. Yeah, it's good for black, for sure. Yeah, so probably d5 was not the case, and queen d7 hence was better than immediate capture on c3. Well, maybe I will play the same thing here, like bishop c3 and bishop d5 after all, but I definitely have more options now. That's the thing. All right, interesting game. I guess this idea with taking on d5 when you already have the pawn on b3 is not so good. I believe that after knight after d7, it was interesting to try this. And if cd5, then knight takes d5. So if knight takes c5, then knight e7 check and takes a8. So usually you take here, bishop captures, now knight takes on e5, and now bishop takes a8. So this position is pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, white has the rook and 2 pawns against white's 2 minor pieces. So it's unclear. I mean, it's interesting option. All right, let's go further. Olaf is next. Let's accept the challenge. Playing with black pieces again. So there should be something similar to the previous game because Olaf usually plays d4. Let's go. e3. Okay, there are different ways to play this. let's try our usual d5 thing. And then immediately c5. I mean, I know it's a bit crazy, but... All right, king is safe. I like this situation. It's always pleasant to have the safe king. Now what? It's a cd4. Yeah, maybe we'll try this in this game. And knight takes. That's interesting. So I expected ed4 because that is what Olaf usually plays. So I was probably wrong to take on d4, because now I have some problems with developing my knight b8. Because if I play knight d7, there is knight to c6. I don't want to take on c4. If I now play bishop back to b7, it looks like I wasted a tempo earlier. e5, probably just knight to f5. I don't think it works good. For black, yeah, I don't see anything better than bishop b7 in this position. Yeah, cd4 was just too early. I should have played some like knight to d7, rook c8, I guess. So now, I have some pressure on this diagonal, a8, h1, but yeah, I think I can ignore it, because if I take on c4 now, and take on g2, it's too risky. I'm just opening the g file against my king. But nevertheless, maybe it deserves attention, like dc4, knight takes, most likely, then bishop g2, rook to g1, and bishop somewhere back. Is it really so dangerous? I mean, no, it may be very dangerous indeed. Yeah, I'm afraid of that, so I'll just develop my knight. Maybe I will regret a bit later. For now, though, it looks pretty normal position for black. Now I can take on c4. That's a typical thing. So that was forced, because if you take with the minor piece, there is b. Oh, there was no b5. I missed that completely. Blundering a lot today. Okay, now white has a weakness. It's not that easy to attack, of course, but in the future it may become a problem. So it's a long-term weakness in white's camp, and if there is some sort of simplification, let's say, we get closer to the endgame stage, it may cause a problem for white. This move I don't really understand, because now I can grab a bishop, which was very important piece. Now, completing the development. I mean, there are no problems anymore on this b1 h7 diagonal, which is pretty good. Now what? Let's try queen b8, queen a8. Let's see what white is going to do in this position. I mean, black's setup is pretty safe, I guess. We have no weaknesses And white has one on c4. So let's try to create another one. Or it's better to say to provoke another one. Not so simple. Not so simple. All right. So let's just wait a bit. H6 is not entirely a stupid move. I may think of some like bishop e4, let's say, and queen b7, like gradually improving my position. And then if my bishop is attacked, maybe I will even change the diagonal. It may be good, maybe not. But I just want to have that option in the future. That's why I played h6. And I literally don't know what to do right now. So just want to see how white is going to handle this position. This probably gives me a tempo to relocate my knight like this. Chess Charlie says it is always easier to be higher rated online than in real life. That's true. In the real life, I have 600s lower rating than here. All right, now we can do this. That's strange. Olaf is definitely playing not his best chess today. Look at this. Just Christmas. Just a Christmas time. Now, this knight shouldn't be underestimated. Let's deal with this guy immediately. Oh, g2 is hanging. Why didn't I take it? That's a good question. I'm just blundering a lot today. I can take this, right? I hope I didn't blunder anything additionally. But it feels like g2 is pinned, and after knight f3 and queen f3, I'm fine. Knight takes e6. Well, what's that? I'll take here. That was pretty strange. Rook takes g2 is also possible. Well, I have no idea what happened. But let's play e5. Now I will take that queen, finally. And the rook as well. Okay. So, interesting situation. Interesting situation that we had after d takes c4. Was, well, appeared better for me than for my opponent. But I think it was possible to try knight takes c4. I mean, I don't have b5. I thought I would have. On the other hand, I have e5 first and then b5. That's interesting. Probably it is something that white should be afraid of. If knight b5, then a6 and then b5. Yeah, probably it was not possible to take with the minor piece on c4, and this means that's okay. After taking on c4 with the pawn, I was like already better a bit. At least if we talk about the pawn structure. So maybe it was a good moment just to go away with the queen here. Yeah, but it sounded like queen b1, but then rook on a1 is a bit out of play. So normally you try to do something like rook to c1 and then queen to b1. All right. I mean, don't know. Interesting game, but there, first of all, queen b3 was already the start of the wrong maneuvering. So queen to b1, probably intending queen to a1 was a bit more interesting. Yeah, because it gives me the bishop, and once there is no light squared bishop on the board, well, I can completely focus on the queen side. I no longer have problems with my king side. All right, that was probably one of the first blunders of yours, and then of course this rook d2, rook c3, and so on. Okay, next one. Gil Adarsh, accept. c4, knight f6, g3, e6. So probably we will have, again, close Catalan. Yep, we're going to have it for sure. And knight to e5. So immediate knight to e5 is probably not so good. Let's just play knight d7. Immediately attacking the knight. And the knight defends c4 at the moment, so something like knight d3. Okay, just take on c4, that's the thing. White takes on d5, I take with the e-pawn, most likely, and have no problems. Right, I can also think of knight e5 and knight d5, but why not? Taking this way. Alright. So now we have different options. We can just take on e5, I think. I mean, why not? Intending to continue the development if white captures with the bishop, like bishop f5, let's say. If d takes c5, then knight d7, then maybe knight c5. Maybe knight e4 is also an option. If d takes e5, knight to e4. I don't know. It deserves attention, at least. In this case, I just wanted to bring my bishop to f5, which is usually a problem in Carlsbad pawn structure. Now we have this one on the board. But when the bishop is on g2, obviously, it's not so hard to achieve. Let's just play this move, to have this bishop on this diagonal. So we should do something with this bishop e5 a bit later. Maybe just exchange it, maybe challenge it with the knight to d7. I don't know. Let's see. Bishop to d6 looks pretty simple solution, but just as usual it weakens dark squares and it may be a problem. But hey, h3, well, I don't know. Is it good? Probably prevent a knight g4 or something. But I didn't really want to play knight g4, honestly, because it's just a one-move threat, in my opinion. And this weakening already gives me some chances in the future fight. Because what we want here is to bring the knight to e4 and start an attack on the king side at some point. It will be not so simple. But anyway, the king side play is what black usually does in this pawn structure. And every pawn move on the king side weakens white's position slightly. And this may increase our chances, that's what I mean. I don't want to say that it's a critical mistake or something, no. Just good news for me. So if we play, okay, this completely changes the situation. All right, one of the typical things, but of course you need a pawn on h2 to make it really stable, I guess. So our bishop has nothing to do here on f6. I guess it belongs to d6 square, so let's just get back. Now queen d7 looks natural, protecting the pawn and attacking that one. Bishop d6 again. Pretty simple move, just getting back to normal position. And now I think just h5, h4, this sort of kingside play I was talking about. Question is, should I play immediate g5 or it's too much? Or should I just start with some like queen e7 and then g5 a bit later? It's a good question. Do we have some other resources here? This typical rook e3 sacrifice, but it doesn't work right now, obviously. So yeah, let's make this move. I mean, it doesn't spoil anything for now. Just attacks the h4 pawn and controls g5 additionally, and white blunders this queen h4. This is very helpful for black. Now I think our attack should be just decisive here. I don't see enough resources for white to protect the king. So I'm going just to get back to e7 to have b7 protected. Here I don't want to play b6, so let's play rook to b8 for now. And the next step will be just h4 and yeah, just opening everything there. Okay, this may be help, maybe not. Now it takes on g3, right? Yeah. And takes on f2, intermediate capture. And now it just takes on d6. There was also an interesting idea to take on e1 instead of taking on f2. Takes, but there bishop f1, bishop h3. I was not entirely sure it will work as expected. So I decided just to go this way because I have extra material after all and should be just fine. Should be just enough. All right, where is our checkmate in attack? If we have any. Not sure. Let's take there. Now jumps to h2, right? Oh, this way. Didn't expect that. I thought bishop g2 was forced because of this bishop to h3. So now white is forced to sacrifice a queen to prevent a checkmate. All right, so knight e5 immediately is not very dangerous, honestly. So instead of playing that, you should consider playing knight d2 or queen c2 or knight c3. There are different options, of course, including b3. There are too many different ways. The problem with the knight e5 immediately is that the knight is not well supported here, and c4 is always under pressure. And if you take this way, then after e5, black has no problems. So let's go on. Onam is the next. All right, it's gonna be pretty challenging because it's always challenging. Although Onam is only 1427, but I don't know. Each and every game against this opponent is very interesting at very least. So e4, waiting for Onam and d6. Yeah, I expected exactly that. That is what we usually play. Nothing is changing here. b5 is good against knight c3 It's my opinion. If there is no knight on c3, I don't really understand the idea behind this move, except for just grabbing some space, but it's not very clear to me how black is going to actually grab it. If there is no chance to play something like b4 and attacking my knight or something. So it feels like just a good target for me. That's why I play immediate a4, trying to get a better pawn structure right from the start, like this. So now a7 is isolated, and I guess I will have good chances to attack it. Alright, let's just develop the pieces the normal way, like bishop d3, knight e2, overprotecting everything. Castling. Now, the question is, what is the best square for my rook? I think it may be even a5. If knight c4, then bishop c4, so it's not a problem. Right now, we can cover that square with a b3. And why exactly a5? Well, first of all, it's not vulnerable to attacks from opponent's light square bishop here. Second, I want to blockade the isolated pawn. It's a typical stuff here. a5. Okay, I think I will just take here first, but will not take with the rook because it will open the diagonal for that bishop. So I think it's better if it is passive. So knight c4 is still not a threat because my queen on d2 is protected twice. I guess we can just play something like knight somewhere, but now I notice that it's not so simple, because if you play knight c3, rook is no longer protected. There may be some like knight c4. Maybe it makes sense just to play b4 now, with the idea of having the rook on a5 protected, no matter where our queen is, and then knight to c3 and rook to a1. Yeah, let's play exactly this. Queen to b4 was also an interesting move. But I just want to keep it simple. Yeah, like knight to c3 now. The rook to a1, like this. And we have some pressure on a7. For example, if knight c4, we just take on a7, already winning the pawn. That bishop on g7 remains quite passive. Unfortunately, I cannot take on b6 now, because of queen takes b6 check and bishop c4. We'll have time to go away somewhere. But what I can do is probably just bishop c5 and queen to e3, this sort of regrouping, exerting some additional pressure on b6. Is it good? Well, it should be not bad, but it allows black to take on d3 at some point, and after cd3 I will have b4 and c pawn separated because my c will be on d3. I mean bishop c5, rook d8 line, of course. Alright, can I take on c4? No, knight takes c4, it's bad for me. Okay, let's try that line. Maybe knight to c1 or something, which is also an option, but it's too much, I guess, for this position. That's what I wanted to play. So now bishop d3 takes, c4 is protected, but the pawn structure is no longer that clear. I mean, who benefits from this new target on d3, black or white? I mean, this pawn can be used as a undermining weapon after d4. Not immediately, of course, but at some point. But it's also not so simple for me to continue here. Okay, let's just exert additional pressure on b6. Not that I'm attacking anything, but just blockading a7 and attacking that knight. Here I wanted to take with the pawn. Again, I'm not sure that I'm doing right thing, because now after knight d7 I'll have a problem with this c5. Yeah, I'm just misplaying this position, to be completely honest. That's just a bad position now. Oh my god, how simple it is. Oh shit, what am I doing? I just don't understand what I'm doing here. I mean, that's why I play all these stupid moves. Knight b8 was possible there, by the way. I don't really know what to do here, so... Yeah, it's a good move. Indeed. Just now pawn down, I think. No. I don't know why black didn't take on c5. Was a good idea, I think. Okay. Oh, that's why. Yeah. It's also very good. Yeah, I'm just worse here. Much worse now. Oh, God. If Onam doesn't blunder, then he's gonna beat me in this game, I believe. So how to make his task harder? Maybe I'm doing it easier, actually. Right, I'm just pretending I have some threads there. I mean, I don't think so. But now, maybe I do have something. Like something. Yeah, stupid Andrey spoiled everything here. Absolutely. Yeah, my God, this 97 was so bad. That was unnecessary, probably, but also good. Yeah, come on, I resign. Yeah, so I think it's the first time Onam beats me, yeah. Absolutely right. That was the first time I completely misplayed the position. So I have a feeling that before was wrong. After Onam played this bishop b6, bishop c4, I think it's clear that b4 was just wrong idea. Or maybe knight to c3 was bad. So let's say after b4, queen c7, I still had a choice. I mean, where to move my knight. Yeah, probably here I made my mistake. So knight to c3 was bad. Queen to c3 was correct. And then, instead of having this absolutely stupid important knight on c3, I can move it through d2, let's say, to b3 and to c5. That's the square for the knight, especially after b4. And pay attention, I no longer have this problem with the c4 square. Yep. That was the right strategy for me, and I misplayed it completely. So I played knight c3. Then, yeah, after bishop c4, this bishop c5 was also bad. I mean, probably I should have played something like this. Intending queen to f2, maybe. And recapturing on d3 with the knight. Not in this particular case because of knight c4, but a bit later. Yeah, that was probably a way to play. Okay. Anyways. Thank you for the game. You deserved winning it. Medusa. Accept. Or Medusa. Sorry again if I'm mispronouncing your nicknames, because I have no idea what your intentions are when you choose this or that nickname. Okay. So the same as in the very first game today, right? Same line. Okay. And hell, it was just a great luck that the game against Onam was unrated. I would have lost, all my rating points. Nevertheless. As I said before, and actually said that many, many times, it's not about rating here. So when I speak about rating points, I'm mostly kidding. In fact, I'm here just to give you some information, right? Just to make you learn something new about this game. To teach you a bit. So e5, c5, knight d5 looks just very good. I mean, let's try that. I mean, queen e2 is the idea behind it, just to create this thread. Not only that, obviously, but one of c5, knight d5. Okay, this way. It's kind of gambit, right? But what if I play knight e4 now? c d5 then. Okay, understand. So what if I just take here? Then knight takes c6. Okay, it's not very good. I mean, I don't want to take on c6 because knight gets better. I don't really want to take on e6 because bishop gets better. Maybe just to give this pawn back, like knight e4, c5, knight c5, queen c5, and just play that position with a pair of bishops. Maybe an option as well. Yeah, let's try that. I mean, I'm too lazy to calculate. Let's just play positional chess. Maybe d6 was also interesting. And then knight to e4. Yeah, that was pretty much forced. Now if I play bishop e3, there is d4. So I tend to prevent that like this. So c3, and then bishop e3, and then maybe bishop d4, attacking g7. Yeah, like this. Okay. So I thought it would be like Lasker Bauer, but there's bishop h7, bishop g7, but my opponent prevented me from doing that. Okay, so let's just take on f5. You're maybe wondering, what am I doing here? Because now we have opposite colored bishops, but I think my bishop is much better, and we shouldn't forget it's still a middle game stage. So everything depends on who starts the attack, and I don't see how black is going to attack in this position because everything is like closed for that bishop. For instance, this diagonal. And my bishop on d4 is just amazing. Okay? So I hope to create some threats here. So let's bring the rook to f3, then maybe to g3, maybe to h3, we will see. Maybe queen h5 was a bit more accurate to start with. Yeah. Hard to say. Now, where to go with the queen? I somehow underestimated this rook e4 idea. Yeah. Poor me. Now, what to do? Rook h3, queen h4 looks like an option. So, let's try that. e1 is covered, right? So we can try this move. So if h6, then rook to g3, right? If queen g6, then the same, rook to g3. It's what we want to play here, and probably black is already in sort of trouble. And it's not a big surprise because after h6, pawn occupies the dark square, then I attack g7, which is dark squared. And black has a problem because the bishop of the light color, right? The bishop controls light squares. The bishop cannot really take part in the defense. And that's the idea behind playing middle game with opposite colored bishops. If you have the attack on certain squares, on squares of a certain color, then you benefit. And on squares of the color of your bishop. So dark squared 1, then dark squares. Okay, rook g3. I don't see how black is going to defend. So rook e1 takes, king f2. g7 is hanging. If queen e6, then rook takes g7, for example. Yeah, I think it's strong. Yeah, let's play that. If g5 now, then rook takes g5. Queen's on the spot. Because if h takes g5, queen to h8, checkmate. If f6, then I just take on h6, I suppose. Also very annoying for black. Rook d4, cd4, something that I didn't calculate for some reason, but I just didn't. It just didn't feel dangerous. That's why. All right, g5, then rook g5. Right, that's the point. Hg5, queen h8, checkmate. So it doesn't work whatsoever for black. King f8. Okay. Bishop g7, king goes to e7, so like rook takes f5. I should be winning. Do we have something better than that? Do we need something better than that? I'm not sure. Simple rook takes f5 is also just good enough, isn't it? Okay, let's think. Yeah, basically after king e7 we have rook g6 check. Why not win a queen, right? If we have such a possibility. And in this case we just take here and it's over. Yay, baby. All right. So I'm not sure that I had anything after, basically taking on c6 or, well, it was possible just to have an extra pawn here, but I didn't want to give my opponent some simple play here. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe just a simple extra pawn and nothing is wrong with white's position. For example, I can play knight e4, and if knight e4, I have some interesting stuff like queen to h5, attacking the bishop twice, then just c3, getting rid of that knight. So basically, yeah, it should be better for white. Extra pawn is the extra pawn after all. But I decided to play that, and there was probably mistakes after cd5, this and that. Black has pretty solid position. Maybe after castling the bishop e3, it was better to play queen to c7, and if bishop d4, knight to c6, because I'm not sure that the sacrifice of both bishops works here, because I need a rook to finish the attack, and I don't have one. So let's say Lasker-Bauer, typical thing. Queen h5, there, bishop takes g7. Well, first of all, okay, even king takes g7. probably leads to just a perpetual, because I don't think I have anything better here. Give me the rook, and that would be the different story, obviously. So just rook lift and some checkmating threats, but here I don't have one. So I'm probably not in time. What I can do instead, something like queen to h5, but now I have just noticed that even queen f4 is possible here. Yeah, that's why bishop d4 is probably not a move even. So queen to c7 deserved attention, I believe. And yeah, it's a much better version than queen c6, because in that case I just blockade the pawn immediately. I don't see the reason of in having the queen on c6 now. And now you've seen what happens. So most likely you had a chance to play much more accurate and solid moves here, but in general this is pretty much one-sided position now, because your bishop is out of play and I have some perspectives of the attack on dark squares. All right, so guys, let's call it a day. I think it was not so bad session. We've seen some instructive things, I believe. If you learned just a bit, I'm happy, because that's my primary goal. Wish you all the best as usual, and see you next week. Bye-bye.